righty, good morning. We are going to get started with our Monday forms training. Today we're going to cover two forms. The first one is going to be the seller instructions to exclude listing from the internet, and the second one is the seller instruction to exclude listing from the MLS. So the seller instructions to exclude listing from the internet, the SELI form. This form is referenced on your listing agreement. It's going to be an agreement between you and the client, right? Between the brokerage and the client. So it's usually going to be an addendum to the listing agreement. It could also be, that's usually what it's going to reference. Again, this date here is going to be the date listed on the upper left-hand corner of your listing agreement, whatever that might have been. You're going to put in the seller's names here. You're going to put in the brokerage name here, right? So your brokerage name goes there. The first couple are just like some advisories. The multiple listing service, the broker is a participant or subscriber to the blank multiple listing service. The MLS, you're going to fill in there which MLS you're a participant of. And if you belong to more than one MLS, make sure that you put in there the primary MLS for where that property is located. Just a little hint there, because like our brokerage belongs to multiple MLSs, so you can put in the primary one if we're a subscriber to that one. The MLS is a database of properties for sale that is available and disseminated to and accessible by all other real estate agents who are participants or subscribers to the MLS or a reciprocal MLS. Property information submitted to the MLS describes price, terms, conditions under which the seller's property is offered for sale. The MLS may further transmit MLS database to internet sites that post property listings online, including national compilations of properties for sale, right? So that's just saying, hey, once we put it in the MLS, it's going to pass it on to places like your Zillows and your realtors and your homes.com and your individual listing site and all those different places. Okay, so that's one. It's just information about what the MLS is. Again, this is the exclusion to exclude, or the exclusion for the internet. So here you might put berries, right? Whatever your primary is. You could always look, like you could always go berries and Metro List, right? If it was both of them or whatever you wanted to do. Two is the mandatory submission to the MLS. The MLS generally requires brokerages or brokers participating in the service to submit all exclusive right to sell and exclusive agency listings for residential real property or vacant lots to the MLS within 2 days after obtaining all necessary signatures of the seller on the listing agreement. However, in accordance with the MLS rules, broker can elect to exclude certain listings from appearing on certain internet sites, even if the listing is submitted to the MLS, if within that same period, broker submits to the MLS such instructions signed by seller, such as this form or the local equivalent. Okay. Seller to opt out of the internet display. Seller understands and acknowledges that either A or B are checked. Consumers who search for listings on the internet sites may not see information about the property or its address in response to their search. So the first one is, if we're just going to exclude it from the MLS, we're going to use the other form. This is really, hey, we're going to post it in the MLS, but we want to exclude it from internet sites. You can exclude the property from the internet, which is A. Seller requests that broker advise the MLS the seller does not want the property to be displayed on the internet. So that's A. B is exclusion of property address from the internet. Seller requests that broker advise the MLS that the seller does not want the address of property to be displayed on the internet. Seller understands and acknowledges that if this option is checked, consumers who search for listings on internet sites may not see the property's address in response to their search, and all requests are subject to MLS rules. Now, I'm going to show you where to put this in on the MLS, because this is important. So let's see here. This one here. All right, so on the MLS, if you go in to put in your listing, at some point you're going to see this publish to the internet. Okay, there's two options here. If they don't want it published to the internet, so they checked box A, we just want it on the MLS, we don't want it on the internet, then we're going to move this to no, we don't want to publish it to the internet. So again, this is called publish to the internet. If we want to publish it to the internet, but we don't want the address to be visible, we would hit yes here and then show address to public. you're going to put no here. Okay, and then it's going to look like those listings that sometimes you come across on those other sites like Realtor, and there's a picture and your client sends it to you and goes, oh my gosh, this property looks amazing, but I can't figure out where it's located. And you're like, that's because it doesn't have an address. That's because somebody marked no here. Okay, so yes here with a no here means it's going to go to the internet, but they won't see the address. And a no here means it's going to go in the MLS, but it's not going to be pushed out to any of the external sites. Okay, yes and yes means it's going to get pushed to the internet with the full address out there. Now, your sellers need to understand that if the show address to public is at no, it is not going to show up on a map search. And most people searching on the internet these days are using the map search. Okay, so no address, no map search. Okay, so that's how that rolls there. Let's see here, go back to the form. So that's where you go to it. It's going to be in Barry's. You're going to input your listing. It'll say, share to the internet. Yes. Add share address. Yes or no there. Okay. 4 is seller opt out of features on MLS participant and subscriber websites or electronic displays. Seller understands and acknowledges that if A or B or both are checked, the opt-out applies only to websites or electronic displays of MLS participants and subscribers who are real estate broker and agent members of an MLS. Other internet sites may or may not have the features set forth herein, and neither broker nor the MLS have the ability to control or block such features from other internet sites. Okay, the other option here is exclusion of comment or property review feature from MLS participant or subscriber websites or electronic displays. Seller requests that broker advise the MLS that the seller does not want the visitors to the MLS participant or subscriber websites or electronic displays that display the property listings to have the ability to write comments or reviews about the seller's property on those sites, the ability to link other sites containing such comments or reviews. Or B is exclusion of automated estimate of property value features from MLS participant or subscriber websites or electronic displays, right? Seller requests that broker advise the MLS that they don't want the MLS participant or subscriber websites or electronic displays that display the property listing to create an automated estimate, excuse me, of the market value of the property or the ability to link to other site containing such automated estimate of the market value of the property. So you have the ability to be able to opt out of those features on some MLSs. So just know that you have the ability to do that. All of these options are mentioned in the listing agreement, which is why it's here on this form. So if they want to opt out of any of the things regarding the internet, this would be the form to do it. Does anybody have questions about the seller instructions to exclude listing from the internet? All right, the other form is the seller instructions to exclude listing from the MLS. This one we use quite often because, as it mentioned, we have a rule with, even though our primary MLS is Barry's, which services Solano, Napa, Sonoma, Marin, Mendocino counties. Okay, if it's in those counties, we're allowed to promote the listing as a coming soon listing. It does not have to be in the MLS. If you're outside of those counties with your listing, you're not allowed to promote it as a coming soon. So it has to be in the MLS in order to promote it to the public. Now, keep in mind that oftentimes we get a listing agreement signed today, and it's not going to go into the MLS as live or coming soon or any other way for like a month or 2 weeks or 7 days. We are required to get that into the MLS within 3 days. Is actually Barry's rule was 3 days. It should be in the MLS. And if it's not, we need to exclude it from the MLS, even if it's just like the property is not ready to go on the market. We're not doing a permanent thing. It talks about it in the listing agreement that we went over, but we want to include this SELM form because this is what Barry's is going to require, even though we don't actually have to submit it to them. And we can utilize this form for any of the listings that we have anywhere that we service. Okay. And then any areas that co-op with Barry's, right? So if we go on Barry's, we can search the property address from our berries login, we can use the berries exclusion form, which I'll walk you through as soon as I'm done with this form. So this one is going to keep it from going, it's going to relieve us from our obligation to put it into the MLS within 2 to 3 days after signing of the listing agreement. It's going to be an addendum to the listing agreement. Here, you're going to put that date again on the upper left-hand corner of your listing agreement. Put in the full property address there, because I haven't mentioned it yet today. Make sure you put in the suffix, the drive, court, street, road, avenue, whatever it might be. Put in your seller's names here, and then you're going to put in your brokerage here. Okay, that's the top. Number 1, multiple listing service. This is the same thing as the last one, right? Broker is a participant to the blank multiple listing service. The MLS is a database of properties that's available, it's disseminated and accessible by all other real estate licensees who are participants or subscribers to either that MLS or reciprocal MLS. Property information submitted to the MLS describes price, terms, conditions under which the seller's property is offered for sale. Benefits of using the MLS and the impact of opting out of the MLS. This is also in the listing agreement, but it's just reiterating those things here in case they didn't read it there. Exposure to buyers through the MLS. Listing property with an MLS exposes the seller's property to all real estate agents and brokerages and their potential buyer clients who are participants or subscribers to the MLS or a reciprocal MLS. The MLS may further transmit the MLS database to internet sites that post property listings online. Impact of opting out of the MLS. If the seller elects to exclude the property from the MLS, the seller understands and acknowledges that the seller is authorizing limited exposure of the property and no marketing or advertising of the property to the public will occur. Real estate agents and brokerages from other real estate offices and their buyer clients who have access to the MLS may not be aware that the seller's property is offered for sale. Information about the seller's property will not be transmitted from the MLS to various real estate internet sites that are used by the public to search for property listings. And real estate agents, brokerage, and members of the public may be unaware of the terms or conditions under which the seller is marketing the property. C is reduction in exposure. Any reduction in exposure of the property may lower the number of offers and negatively impact the sales price. Okay, so keep in mind that if you are not in a berries and you cannot market the property as coming soon, and the property is not in the MLS, you are actually required and not allowed, it's against the rules, to promote that property to anybody outside of our office. Okay, no coming soon signs. No promoting it to other brokerages. You can talk with your clients. You can talk with the other agents in our office. That is it. Okay, no postcards getting mailed out if it's outside of the berries service area because they do not allow coming soon, which means it's got to be in the MLS in order to promote it to the public. It's called the clear cooperation policy. Okay. Oh, here, look, 3, I got ahead of myself. 3 is the mandatory submission to the MLS, the clear cooperation policy. The MLS requires brokers participating in the service to submit an exclusive right to sell and exclusive agency listings for residential real property with 1 to 4 units or vacant lots to be in the MLS within 1 business day of public marketing of the property. Okay, if they're in the berries 5 counties or in an MLS that allows coming soons, that does not adhere to the clear cooperation, then we can check this box right here, does not require. Okay, so if you're in those 5 counties in our area, which would be Solano, Napa, Sonoma, Mendocino, and Marin, you could check that box that it does not require the clear cooperation policy. You can promote that sucker as much as you want. Okay, but outside of that, we leave this box empty and it does. Public marketing includes, but is not limited to, flyers displayed in windows, yard signs, digital marketing on public-facing websites, brokerage website displays, digital communications, marketing and email blasts, multi-brokerage listing sharing networks, marketing to closed or private listing clubs or groups, and applications available to the general public. Public marketing does not include office exclusive listing where there's direct promotion of the listing between the brokers and licensees affiliated with the listing brokerage, and one-to-one promotion between these licensees and their clients. Okay, excluding the property from the MLS means that the seller is authorizing limited exposure of the property and no public marketing will occur. The scope of marketing that will occur will consist only of direct one-to-one promotion between brokers and licensees affiliated with the listing brokerage and their respective clients. Now, keep in mind here that if we check 3A, this box does not require, none of this applies underneath section 3. Okay, none of it applies. D is the MLS has not adopted, right? So we can check this box, does not require. And then for berries, we come down here and check D. The MLS has not adopted the National Association of Realtors Clear Cooperation Policy. Brokers MLS rules govern the submission of listings differently than those set forth in paragraphs 3A, B, and C. With seller's written consent, the broker may keep the property out of the MLS. Seller certifies that seller understands the implications of not submitting a property to the MLS and instructs broker as follows. Do not submit the listing to the MLS. Check 1. Okay. We can either, for a period of blank calendar days after the commencement, so we could say, hey, 7 calendar days. It's going to be a week. We could put a specific date here if we know what that approximate date is. Or we could check box 3 during the entire listing period provided for in the agreement. Okay. Now, if you don't know when the property is going to go on the market, you can check box 3. Hey, for the entire listing period, we just come back and do a modification of terms that public marketing of property and property be submitted to the MLS on such date. Okay. That's when it actually goes live. So you can come back and do a modification of terms for that. So again, if we are outside of the Berry service area, we adhere to the clear cooperation policy. So Yolo County, Sacramento County, El Dorado, Placer, Bay Area. We're going to leave this box unchecked. We're not going to check box D, and we're going to proceed to section 4. Okay, if we are in the Berries counties, we're going to check this box here for 3A. Then we're going to come down here and mark box D. And then we're going to fill out one of these 2 options, 1, 2, or 3. Okay. If we are outside of berries, we have not checked this box. We do not check this box. We come down to section 4. If you're in berries, we're going to skip 4. Seller instructions to broker to exclude property from the MLS. This paragraph 4 applies unless 3D is checked. A, do not market the property immediately. Begin marketing to the public on blank date. B, do not market the property to the public during the entire listing period. And then C is whether A or B is selected, seller understands and agrees that should any public marketing of the property occur, the property listing will be submitted to the MLS for cooperation with other brokerages within 1 business day. The seller acknowledges the seller read, understands, and accepts and received a copy of this addendum. Any questions on this form? All right, so when we go to the MLS, there's another step. So we send out our listing agreement. We have our sellers sign this form, the SELM form. We keep it for our files. What we're then going to turn around and do is we're going to go over to the MLS. Here. This one here on our Berries main page when you log in. Right here under useful links. Yours might be in a different place because you can rearrange these little cubes anywhere you want. But we're going to go to exclude listing under the useful links. We're going to click that button. It's going to pull up a thing and say, hey, do you have written instructions to exclude this listing from the seller? Look at, we're going to hit start. You're just going to walk through. You're going to put in your information here. You're going to put in the property address. You're going to say, yes, I have permission. You're going to hit submit. It's going to send you an email confirmation of that exclusion. Okay. I like to take that email copy of the exclusion and include it with my SELM form. So those 2 things are together. So not only do I have proof that the seller instructed me to not put that property in the on the market right away, but that I did submit this exclusion form. Because what happens is we don't do this step here, and then we put the property on the market in 3 weeks, and then we get a nasty gram email from the MLS saying, hey, I need you to send me a copy of your exclusion form because this property, it says that your listing agreement was signed here and we're going live here and we've got this gap of time. So they're going to want proof that you weren't supposed to submit that listing to the MLS within the time stipulated based on the listing agreement sign date. Filling out this form here is the proof that you don't have to do that. It keeps you from getting that nasty gram email. Now, if you're listing, because I logged into the Barry's dashboard, if you're listing, it's in any of the reciprocal MLSs, right? So your Metro list, your East Bay, Contra Costa, any of those where we can search the properties through the Barry's MLS portal, that exclusion for the listing works. Okay, you don't have to do a separate one. Okay, so just make sure you click that button, and then you're going to complete this information, and then you're going to get that emailed confirmation, which you're going to attach to your SELM form. Any questions on the SELM form or the SELI form? So one again is to exclude it from passing on to the internet. The other one is to exclude it just from the MLS. Okay, so one is MLS and one is internet. And you would really want both of these forms included if you were excluding temporarily from the MLS and permanently excluding from the internet. If we just are not having it pass through to the MLS right away, we just use the SELM form. For the most part, you're probably going to use the SELM form the majority of times. All right, those are the two forms that we are covering today: the seller exclusion from the multiple listing service and days on market. And we are using the seller instructions to exclude listing from the internet. And again, the exclusion form is found in the Barry's login under useful links. And then the towards the bottom of your property information, as you're inputting that listing, it's going to ask you if you want it to pass to the internet and whether the address is going to pass to the internet or not, which comes from the exclude from the internet form. Hope you guys found that useful. We will see you tomorrow. We're talking about the buyer presentation. Have a fabulous day, and we will see you all soon.